going to talk about what happens when you... Okay, hold on.
You can keep talking. I just need to set some stuff.
Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can...
Yep, you're good.
Okay. There we go. Okay, here we go. I don't think I need to do that intro again. Oh, God. All right, here we go. Let's try to get it right. Well, we do have some good information, right? But anyways, IT, we can put that outside, but this is the inside stuff. This is the good stuff. What happens when you have no motivation and you don't have any willpower? Because really, we're talking about most of us. And you know what I'm talking about. When you go on the weekend or you fall off, and it's really maybe, I mean, even though you have all the information and you know what to do, you got the Holy Grail on food, what happens when it's not working? How do you get back into it? I hate to think of it as a diet because it's really, to me, about a lifestyle. It's a knowing. It's a knowing, it's a belief system, and then practicing the belief system. But I want to give you some really tight, real life things that I know work every time when this happens. These are what I call the lid tightened up, when you really know that this is the real deal, but you can't seem to get back on the wagon. And typically, where our brain's at for most of us is the sacrifice really worth the payout? I mean, this to me is the biggest thing when I'm thinking about people trying to stay on a program, because let's face it, a diet is a diet, right? We get on it, we can lose the weight, hallelujah, we lost the weight, but that's not what really keeps us there. It's being able to stay on it for life. That's the ticket item. So just having information, will that help? I think having the right information certainly helps, because having the wrong information puts you down a rabbit hole that doesn't work, and then all you're really doing is just going through a torture chamber trying to make this diet work. So I think having the right information, like what I'm showing you, brings the balance in. But still, at the end of the day, when you have those 40 or 50 pounds on you, it's that sacrifice, trying to figure out, is the payout worth it? And I don't mean like when you get super motivated, because motivation doesn't work. It kind of sucks in a way, because you'll have some months where you're super motivated and everything seems to be going for you, and then something happens at work or family or whatever, and you just lost that motivation. The willpower just isn't there. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because the reality is, the payout is based on some future desire, the you later, which to me is really about motivation. But when you're in that rut, when you're really kind of in that ditch, you don't have the motivation. That's why you're in the ditch. So when you think about it, human nature, the hedonic side of things always wins. You got to know that, right? The pleasure is always going to be there ahead of any sacrifice. And the sacrifice is based on some kind of payout. Payout of the future you, or payout, maybe it's a lab value you got and you're just scared into it. You're literally driven because of fear, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get dementia and it's cardiovascular disease. My doctor says that all I have to do is do a diet, lose weight, and this is done. The back issue. I mean, the whole list of health issues that all you have to do is lose the weight. Okay, that's maybe some motivation, but at the end of the day, it's really tough, because you just keep falling into this trap, this pleasure trap, the part of, is it really worth me? I mean, can I really get to my high school weight? I mean, sure, the Myrna Method says it can do it, but bottom line, I have to do it. And can I really do it? And here's the thing that I think we've all got to, have a realization, is that when you're overweight, the sacrifice is sometimes really not worth it. When you're overweight, it's hard to imagine that future you, especially when you're doing it the right way, and maybe you're really only losing a pound or two of fat a week, and you're going, oh my God, at this rate, it's going to take me a year. And it's really hard to think to yourself, is it really worth it? Is it really worth the sacrifice for a year? Because really, the truth is, when the payout is worth it is when you already have it. That's why people that are, there already are super motivated. Oh, it's so great. I'm motivated. Look at my abs. And you go to the gym and everybody's, oh, you look great. What are you doing? Yeah, that's easy to be super motivated. But not so easy when you're looking at 40 or 50 pounds, when you're struggling and you're thinking, oh my gosh, in 1 month, maybe I'm only going to lose 5 or 6 pounds of fat. And you're thinking to yourself, every single day it starts over. Every day I'm carrying this ball and chain. And you're saying to yourself, why am I doing this? And I really wanted to bring home the realness of this, because I don't want it to just be, oh yeah, we'll just do this program. It's great. It works. And it does work because it works chemically. But it doesn't stop the reality. It doesn't stop the reality that these glitches are going to happen because you are a chemical animal. You're driven by chemicals, and nobody's perfect. And we're going to go on that weekend, and we're going to go out to dinner, and things are not going to be balanced for you. And you could fall right back into it. And then it's going to feel like I'm starting all over until, of course, you get right back on the wagon. But what if we could give you some tips that can get you back on that horse much quicker? What are those tips? What are the things that really work? First of all, motivation doesn't. It's temporary. You do it because you just do it. If you're depending on yourself getting motivated to do it, you'll be waiting till the right time. Well, I can't do it this month because, we're going on a vacation this month. And then, I got the wedding next month. And then next thing you know, you're trying to figure out when it is you're going to be super motivated. And that absolutely doesn't work. Here's what works. You have to pick a habit. You have to make it something that really isn't going to be comfortable. And I say that because it's even being here maybe not be comfortable, right? Because you had to inconvenience yourself. You have to spend time listening. This is time you could be doing something else. So you've got to get in your head that there's going to be some habitual behavior. And that's how you have to look at it. Because once it becomes a habit, it's less painful. Habits do require a push, but the reason why you make something a habit is you just do it. You don't think about it. That is why it's a habit. And if you start having to think about it too much, because it is uncomfortable, habits are not always happy times. They're things that you kind of do, like I go exercise or I prepare food. And we'll talk about some habits that you can start right away. But you have to get out of your head that habits are happy places, because they're really not. That's why you make it a habit. You do it because you do it, not because you're just loving it. Now, sometimes your habits can be things you enjoy, but you know what I find? I find that happens after you get the prize. Been doing this quite a while, been working with patients, and my God, when you're looking at that 40 to 50 pound weight loss, it's hard to get super motivated. You're on a faith system. You're just riding on a big train of faith. You have faith that this is going to work. You have faith that it's going to be better. But the motivation is based on this faith. It's not really based on, I feel great, I look great, wow, this is working. So how we make this thing happen is we don't use motivation, especially when you're 40 or 50 pounds looking down that track, thinking, my gosh, this is 6 months down before I'm really going to get motivated and really see results. You've got to start with the habit, and then you've got to build the brain. Those are the two things. Two things I always say is humans, what makes us really unique, what makes us impactful, is two things: what we put in our head and what we put in our mouth. So as far as building the brain, you have to learn what it is you're going to do. You have to learn the diet system. I don't think it's about following a diet, because if you don't learn anything, it'll never be a lifestyle. It'll be something you just purchase. Oh, Jenny Craig. Oh, I'm doing Weight Watchers. If you don't really make it something that's a belief system, then it really never becomes a lifestyle. It's just something you do when you lose, like fasting. I'm just going to fast, or I'm going to do keto. A lot of people think that's a lifestyle, but it's really not. It's just a diet. You have to incorporate a belief system that you know is going to make you better. That's number one. And then number two, you got to add the habits. As soon as you learn this belief system, which if you're here, it's the Myrna Method, I'm going to be showing you how to eat to maintain your leanest and healthiest weight. Then you just got to add the habits to that. And knowing that it's not necessarily going to be comfortable. And seriously, forget the motivation. And the diet system, the lifestyle, the belief system, this is what you have to incorporate. This is what you're learning. And then you take small little pieces of that belief system and you put it into a habit. You got to put it into a place where you don't think. You just do. Because honestly, if you have to think about your habits, then chances are you won't do them. And that's really I think, something that I have learned through the years is that you wouldn't do it if you actually thought about it. But it's what you do in the morning. I get up, I exercise, or wherever you're going to place this habit. You have to make sure that you're putting that habit in a place that can be at the same time. Habits are things that are routine. Because you can't be in a position to where you're thinking, should you go or not go? I didn't sleep last night, or my job, or there's so many reasons why you may not want to do that inconvenience, because you got to go to the exercise class. Maybe it's you got to prep food. The two biggest habits that make the most impact in your life, the two most, is going to be food preparation. Once you learn the system, once you understand the lifestyle that you're adopting, this belief system, then you have to do the preparation for it. And that means food prep. You got to have it ready. And then you've got to figure out when is it you're going to exercise. So to me, it's more about putting it into a routine than actually trying to think about it, or having reflection, or trying to be motivated for it. That doesn't work. And when you're looking at what is the best program to adopt, to me, it's about a program that makes sense from a health perspective, from a scientific perspective. And there's really two ways to look at how you eat. You look at it from a balanced side of what you're eating, and that means that you're looking at these macronutrients. When you look at balance, it's all about how these macronutrients, protein, fiber, carbs, and fat, work into your life in a balanced fashion. And what is it you're trying to balance? How muscles work, insulin, gut bacteria, and brain chemicals. So when you're looking at a diet, you're looking at a belief system that's going to make you better. Not a diet to lose weight. The belief system is this way I'm eating is going to get me to my leanest and healthiest weight. And it comes in understanding how these macronutrients work and how they work in creating this homeostasis. But at the end of the day, it's figuring out all the foods that you have to bring into your life to make this happen. And that's going to be part of the preparation. That is what I'm talking about when I say learn the diet system and then add the habits. You've got to pick pieces that you start incorporating and making it a routine. So when we're looking at incorporating this, and I have to give you some nutrition tips right away, which would be the ones that I would say, hey, do this. Here they are. Eat more fiber, eat less fat, and balance carbs. So a lot of people that are possibly listening to this live stream, they don't know about the Myrna Method and how we take these macronutrients and we balance them. And this is what I do in my course in Myrna Method, where I explain, MyrnaMethod.com, how this eating works, learning how to eat. But what if I'm here for the first time and I just want to know, what do I want to do right now that can make a huge impact? And here it is. Eat more fiber. 3 cups veggies and 3/4 cups of beans, lentils, or some type of high fiber grain. Eat more fiber, eat less fat. When I say less fat, anywhere from 50 to 70 grams a day. So you want to try to get, even if it's 50 might be a little lean, even if we said 60 grams of fat per day or less. I'm eating less fat, I'm eating more fiber, and I'm balancing my carbs. So when I eat my carbs, I'm bringing in protein and fiber. That is one of the most impactful things that you can incorporate. Now that's knowledge. So that's the lifestyle part of it. You got to figure out how to make that a habit. You've got to take whatever you're learning in lifestyle, in this lifestyle diet system, and take little pieces of it. And they can be small. I mean, I'm not talking about starting big. I'm saying take small little steps. Like, all right, I'm going to start understanding that fiber is a big part of my diet, and I'm going to start preparing foods that have fiber in it. So you take small little steps, small little habits, and you say every Sunday I'm going to shop and I'm going to do food prep. And then I'm going to try to do some type of exercise Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You start small. Maybe it's go for a walk for 20 minutes. You got to pick the same time every day. You cannot decide to leave it open-ended. Habits are not open-ended. That's the first thing. They are not. Habits are routine. You've got to put them into a time that's consistent, or else it won't become a habit. If you just say, I plan on doing that, it won't work, because there will always be a reason why it didn't happen. So the biggest thing, the biggest recommendation I can say is that when you have fallen off the end, when it's hard to get back, you go latch on to some habit. Don't think about it. So you've been on the cruise, or you had that weekend that maybe didn't turn out so well. You understand the lifestyle. You're learning how to eat. You got to jump right into the habit. Don't think about it. You just do it. Make yourself do it. And I have a video that I'm going to have you watch tonight that I picked that I think is really good, that they talk a little bit about habit and how the brain works. One of the things that's really interesting, and the science that I'm going to bring into this in this live stream, is that when you do start doing these habits, and habits are not really comfortable because you have to get there and do it. I mean, eventually they just become something you do, but it's not necessarily something you really enjoy doing. It's just you do it. Now, eventually some people can get to where they enjoy it, but I want to share with you the scientific benefit of doing habits that initially you may not enjoy, that how it can actually develop chemistry in your brain that can help you live longer. So one of the things I want to get down and dirty about is that, yeah, we've got to do habits and they may not be comfortable. And part of just getting back in it is you just got to do it. You got to stop thinking about it. You got to make something a routine, make it when you can do it. And the second part of this is I want to give a positive note in just doing that and just making yourself do something. It's going to create more science-driven data that shows that it improves your brain for longevity. And that's what I want to bring to the table tonight in this video that I want to show you with Dr. Huberman and David Goggins. So I am going to hopefully get this right.
So pull up the video.
I'm going to pull up the video, and I've got timestamps. And we're going to watch some of this.
So you won't hear sound unless you put the headphones.
Okay, so let me make sure I do
They'll
this
be
right.
able to hear it, though.
Okay, and they can see the screen right now. All right. So let me get the timestamp. All right.
You'll appreciate. Most people don't know this,
Wait.
but there's a brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. as we pointed out before, that's a noun, it's a name, it doesn't mean anything. We could call it the
Okay,
cookie
hold on.
monster.
Right.
Sorry,
But what's
guys.
interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data
Okay.
in humans,
Let me do it over.
not some mouse study.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
let me start over again. I'm learning how to do this. Okay, I'm going to go back. So what do I need to do?
No, you're good, but make sure you're sharing with your Zoom course.
Okay. Hold on. Share. Sorry, guys. All right. Are we good?
Let me double check.
Here we go.
You'll appreciate. Most people don't know this.
Is the
There's
sound
a
okay?
brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. As we pointed out before, that's a noun, it's a name, it doesn't mean anything. We could call it the cookie monster.
Right.
But what's interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data in humans, not some mouse study, showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3 hours of exercise per day or per week, or when people who are trying to diet and lose weight resist eating something.
Right.
When people do anything that they, and this is the important part, that they don't want to do.
Right.
It's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do.
Yes.
This brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
Now here's what's especially interesting about this brain area to me. And by the way, I'm only learning this recently because it's new data, but there's a lot of it. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet. It's larger in athletes. It's especially large or grows larger in people that
Just
see
interrupt
themselves
for just a
as
second.
Okay.
challenged and
Your
over.
Zoom course cannot hear the video,
Okay.
and I'm not 100% sure how to fix that. Just so people know, with the streaming, we're streaming on YouTube, and her members have access to a Zoom course, but there seems to be audio issues via the Zoom course.
So how do I fix it?
Question. Let me see.
Okay.
So your Zoom course, just give me a hot second, should be able to speaker.
Switch the mics.
I'm not 100% sure how to fix it. I'm gonna be real with you.
Okay.
That might have fixed it.
Okay, try it. Okay.
There are now a lot of data
I think you might have to
in
restart
humans,
the video, to be honest.
not some mouse study, showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3
Okay.
hours of exercise.
All right, so they can't, it doesn't work?
No.
Okay, can they hear me?
Yes, they can.
Okay. So let me talk about the video.
Yeah.
And then we can add the link to everybody that was here tonight to watch it.
Yes. So just
Okay.
go back to
Okay.
go back to the Canva. We'll have to work out. It's because of the Zoom and YouTube interface are not very friendly together.
Okay.
And that's why it affected certain picture quality, but it seems it's also affected some of the audio quality.
Okay. So
next week we'll make sure to fix that.
okay, so how do I go? All right, so I go
You're
back
back
to
to your Canva. Yeah.
okay. So
Make
they
sure
can,
you're sharing the screen with your stream.
okay. Got it.
So right, share the window.
All right,
There you go.
guys.
Go back to
Sorry.
Canva.
Will we figure this out? Will we get this done?
Yes, it'll
Okay.
be fixed by
All
next
right.
week. Yes.
So, and I'll send you this video because we have everybody that was on tonight, right?
Yeah.
I will say David Goggins uses a little bit of potty mouth, so I wasn't going to clip that in. So if you do get the video and you watch the whole thing. But basically what I think is really interesting is David Goggins, he's a public speaker. He's a Navy SEAL. He's written a book how he was really down in the dumps, you know, just had learning disabilities, was going nowhere with his life. And he talks about how in life, to really get anywhere, it takes discipline and discomfort. And he was 100 pounds overweight. I mean, this guy, you know, he went to go sign up for Navy SEAL, and they're looking at this guy going, you got to be kidding me. First of all, we've only had like 25 African Americans ever even go through this. And look at you, dude. You're like really fat. You're never going to make it. So he basically really dug deep, and that's part of his motivational speaking, as he talks about how you have to be willing to get uncomfortable to get anything done. But what was interesting and what I clipped out about this is Dr. Huberman talks about how when you do something that is uncomfortable, your brain, part of your brain, two areas of your brain actually become developed and create longevity. It's almost like it creates more of a will to live. And I thought this was fascinating because if you want to make yourself better in exercise, build more muscle, you have to sacrifice, right? You have to go and you got to get the pain, and then the pain, you get the muscle. If you want to be smart, you got to go through the pain of learning, and that's painful, right? Because you got to sit there and you got to try to understand it. Well, I thought this was fascinating because even Dr. Huberman talks about this is kind of new information even for him. He was really interested in all the data that's surfacing that when you push willpower in the brain, and how obese people have very little of it, but you'll see it with athletes, or you'll see it with people who are forced to push themselves doing things that they don't want to do. That it actually develops a part of the brain, okay, that helps in longevity. They're showing that the telomeres don't shorten, and it's showing that I went and even looked at some studies on this, and I was fascinated that willpower is something you have to sort of create. Now, with what I talk about with diet, I always go back and say, look, if you're counting on willpower to drive this, chemical train that's going on with your diet, it's probably not going to work because there's so many things that go on chemically with food that it's not just about wishing you're going to do this. But what I find is interesting with this podcast that Huberman talks about is how we can develop a part of our brain when we do things that we have to push ourselves to do. And this actually has shown that it increases longevity because in some capacity, it builds the idea physiologically that we're telling our body we have a will to want to live. So at the end of the day, yes, there is some discomfort to some degree in anything we're going to do to make ourselves better. And come on, we know that. I mean, I'm not this is riveting information. This is not an aha moment. We all subconsciously know that. But the difference I make with the diet is that understanding that there is a chemical lifestyle to the way you eat, that your body will click in to a chemical way that you're not hungry. It's almost like what Ozempic does. It sort of dampens the appetite, and it makes it so much easier, especially when you learn to eat how the body wants you to eat. This is what the body's saying for energy. This is what the body's saying for help. I need this to be better. So I just thought this video was interesting because it's the first time I've really heard that doing something you didn't enjoy actually built a part of your brain that was related to longevity. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting closer to 66 than I am 65. So anything about longevity, I want to know about it. So I thought I would bring that up for you. And in this video, I think the whole thing is probably, I can actually even send you guys the timestamps I had that really talks about the science with the brain and this whole development on how it creates this longevity part. But what I wanted to get through with you guys tonight, and I hope was helpful, is that motivation doesn't work. You have to learn the lifestyle. You have to learn what it is you're going to make a habit. And just having the information isn't going to work either. It helps, but you have to take this information and you're going to have to put it into a habit, because if you don't put it into a habit, it may be uncomfortable to prepare for it. It may be uncomfortable to maybe watch the videos. It's an inconvenience to have to go shopping, to have to prepare, because you're going to have to prepare food because you're not going to be able to go to restaurants and just order anything you want. When you go to restaurants, you're going to have maybe a little bit of uncomfort because you're going to maybe have to order steamed things instead of having it dripping with butter and oil. So there is this sort of sacrifice thing to some degree. What I have found is if you can learn how to eat the way I'm showing you, the sacrifice becomes a lot less, and it then becomes a belief system, a way of doing things the way your body would want to do that creates this homeostasis. But at the end of the day, even if you have all this information, you have to take pieces of that and make it a habit where you don't think. When you make something a habit, it's going to be uncomfortable until it just becomes routine. That's just the way it works. And what I wanted to sprinkle in there is that, hey, guess what? If you're doing that, there is a longevity component to it. If you are doing something that you have to start out with a habit, and it's got to be a little uncomfortable, you're going to develop a part of your brain that's going to be of benefit, which to me was kind of new data. So how do you get back into when you fell off? If you're waiting to get motivated, it's never going to happen. You've got to first learn the lifestyle, learn the system, your belief system of eating. And then you just got to pop into that habit. At first, it's a little uncomfortable, but the uncomfort has some science behind it that is actually good for us. So hopefully that's a little motivation, because at the end of the day, when you're really trying to do this, and you're trying to think of yourself as your later you, the you that's going to be you in a year from now, sometimes that's just not enough motivation when you're looking at 40 or 50 pounds, when you're carrying that excess weight, because the hedonic way of eating, that pleasure, always seems to be in the forefront. It seems to always be the winning ticket for the moment. So I hope this helped. I wanted to bring something to the table that just from some of my patients. I've had a few patients that have been really successful in the Myrna Method, and then something happens, a loved one dies or something at work, or they're moving, and they just fall off, and they start gaining weight, and they're trying to figure out, how do I get back? I was there, it was perfect, it wasn't even a diet. So I wanted to be of help to them, or even new people coming on board that it's getting all this information and like thinking, all right, maybe I spent 3 or 4 years, I was doing great, and then I just went through this COVID thing. I don't even know how it happened, but here I am in this situation. This will never go away. You're never truly going to get rid of this hedonic, this pleasure, this addiction, what food drives us. We're never going to get rid of that. So every day does start over. The key is we've got to give ourselves ammunition. We've got to really give ourselves the power to be able to sit in that chair and have what we need to get to our leanest and healthiest life, because it is worth it. Unfortunately, you don't really get to get there with the worth it part, the motivation, until you get it. And that's what I think is the hardest part, is reaching for it. Because once you are lean, once you do have those labs, man, you never want to let that thing go. It feels good. It feels right. You enjoy it. It actually motivates you to continue this life. So I wanted to leave it open. So Samantha, will I be able to, let me read the chats, and then I'm going to figure out if I can unmute the mic. So thanks, great point you made about Ozempic. People taking that drug miss out on the brain benefit and longevity benefit of pushing yourself. Yes, that's a really good point, Karen. And that's what I liked about that YouTube video, is that actually pushing ourselves does chemistry for our brain. We know it does chemistry for our muscles, right? We know that we can't get muscle without pushing. So I think it's interesting to find it for the brain. Okay, I'm going to put the headphones on so people can unmute their mic.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you
So
hear me?
I can. Can
Okay,
other
perfect. Then that means it's working. So people in the members area can unmute and
okay,
ask you questions if they want. If not, they can leave it in the chat.
perfect. Or even share. I
Hmm.
think also, um, sharing. I know that I talked to somebody today, and we talked about how, she gets compliments at the gym now because she is at her leanest weight, and it's so great to have that. It's almost super motivating. It keeps you kind of locked in it. So I thought I would share that. I've had patients that, looking at that long haul, it's really tough to be motivated when you're not getting the results fast. So if you guys want to share and unmute your mic, you don't have to.
Just want to register that science apparently says it takes 28 days to make a habit and 28 days to break a habit. So that is not a huge, that's like 3 weeks. So that's not a huge investment given the duration of the lifestyle that will carry through for years after that. So sometimes I think it's helpful to know how long you have to kind of have the training wheels on before, you can ride the bike without them.
Well, and that's a really good point, because it does make it helps to know that. And I think it also helps to know that it's uncomfortable. It is. I mean, it's until something becomes a routine and you don't have to think about it. When you're at the place that you're not thinking about it, it's just, you just do it. But I want to drive home the point that it's not initially comfortable. And I think that's hard because people think, well, how come everybody else goes to the gym? They seem like they don't have a problem with it. That only happens when you've arrived into that habit, into that ritual. And I think that's great, because you're right. It doesn't take that long. It's six to 8 weeks, and you can get this uncomfort place to be more habitual and routine. And honestly, I mean, I've been doing this my whole life, and I'm going to tell you, if I waited to be motivated to be fit, I would never be fit. I have my time, I go out, and I just do it. There's just no discussion, no thought process. I don't really have anything to do at that time. And I think that is, to me, the biggest deal breaker for a lot of people, is getting to where you take this belief system and you figure out how to make it routine and habitual, because motivation will never work. Willpower, I think willpower, interesting that you develop it and it actually helps with longevity. That is like the coolest thing ever. But still, at the end of the day, it's uncomfortable. Let's all be real about that. So I think the program I'm putting you on is the most comfortable, because I'm trying to go through it from the science. But it's still uncomfortable because you got to learn about it. You got to practice it. That's just inconvenient. So the only way you win at this game is to actually try to figure out how to bring it into a habit. Another comment, action precedes motivation. Not sure where I heard that, but it has stuck with me, and it's so true. Action, but it's hard to get action if you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's gonna be hard, or I gotta just don't even think about it. Just take a baby step and just make something you do. Deal with the fact it's going to be uncomfortable. And yeah, I do think with the Ozempic, you miss that. You miss the train the brain. You're getting a shot. And now that we know there's benefit to train the brain, we know there's benefit to train the muscle. So to me, that's like great science. Also for people who don't like vegetables, they slowly incorporate them, and the more their palate changes, so they develop a taste for it. That's true. So when I talk about eating right, and we talk about the gut microbiome, and that's what she's referring to, is that when you start changing your diet, your gut starts changing the microbes that affect your palate. Okay, so you start training your body to be the best it can be. Look, at the end of the day, you are never going to be the best you can be until you get the diet right. And I know that's a really strong statement, and I probably get a lot of trouble for that. But if you're not feeding your body what it needs to be your optimum best, it's difficult to be your optimum best, because everything you put in your mouth affects every cell in your body, your energy level, your thought process. So to me, if you don't get the food part right, I'm not sure a lot of other stuff's going to get right. And so Samantha brought up the chat from YouTube. Hello, everyone. Still working out some glitches. Oh, that's Samantha. Okay. You can tell I'm not good at this. Can you discuss how the gut die-off can make it hard to adopt new healthy habits? Yes, that is true. So when you have a situation where you have a lot of gut dysbiosis, and what does that mean? You have more bad bacteria than good bacteria. And how did you get that? Because all food creates bacteria, good or bad. So you have foods that have a lot of sugar, a lot of oils, processed foods, they create not such good gut bacteria. And these gut bacteria can create what are called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They're bad bacteria that are overgrowing. It can also cause yeast, candida. So all these bad bacteria can also travel through the bloodstream and cause a lot of health issues. So when you get to where you're killing them, and that's when you're bringing in a diet that's going to be healthier, the vegetables, and you're getting rid of these processed foods, which by the way is uncomfortable at first because you crave the processed foods. You have to go through a cleansing period where you're switching over your diet. You're actually changing your gut microbiome. You can actually have a die-off where these bacteria begin to die. And this can give you flu-like symptoms. That in itself can be uncomfortable. So I think what you're referring to is, can you discuss how the gut die-off can make it hard to adopt a new habit? Yeah, because when you're not feeling good, look, I don't care if it's you've got insulin resistance and carbs aren't working well for you, you don't feel good. I don't care if it's your gut's not right and you're trying to get it right, you don't feel good. So anytime you're not feeling good, it's really tough to adopt anything because it's not working for you. You're not on it in the right way. So for me, I say that with the die-off, you have to give it time. You have to just keep at it, but at a probably slower level. I don't know if this helps. If you want to make more comments on that, I can talk to that more. Also, a contingency plan. Somebody has on the chat to have a contingency plan. ABC, healthy choice meals in the freezer. Ingredients that help you get there. Quick meals that take 5 to 10 minutes. Have set strategies and routines in place for balanced eating. Exactly. You got to first say, what is it I'm doing? And then you got to adopt these little routines. And they start out small. And it's just like what this person's saying on the chat. Yeah, you have to start out with, maybe I'm doing 5 to 10 minute meals that I know are balanced. Maybe in the freezer, I've got healthy start meals that I know have the right amount of protein, fiber, and carbs that I need. You've got to be able to say, this is what I'm going to shop for. This is my little routine. And then you build upon that routine. You got to come up with strategies. But even if you come up with a strategy, if you don't make it a habit or a routine, it won't happen. So there are a lot of people that come up with great ideas. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They get all the information, but the thing they don't do, okay? And this was the main thing I wanted to get through in this live stream, is they don't put it into a routine. At this time, at this day, this is what I do. That's what I mean by routine. Because it's not always comfortable. When you come up with a strategy to make yourself better, and I don't care if it's a strategy for diet or exercise or whatever it is to improve your career, any kind of strategy requires some level of sacrifice. It's going to be inconvenient. And especially with diet, because everything's going to come first, the career, the family, all those other sacrifices. So somewhere down here at the bottom of the barrel is the diet thing, right? That's typically what happens. And to make it even worse, we're using diet to relieve us of all these pressures. We actually use diet as a pleasure mode so that we can get through what's happening at work and the family. It's actually helping us because it's hitting pleasure centers in the brain. And this is where you really have to get smart, where you have to take this and put it into a routine, because you won't make it. There's too many other things on the sideline. And it's just doggone inconvenient for the most part. So so let me check some more chats. Can you discuss? Okay, I already did
The Zoom chat.
the Zoom chat. All right, let me go back there. I think I covered them all.
Okay. I thought there was one more, but maybe not.
Okay, I think I'm doing it. Probably not that well, but hopefully it helps. So if you guys have anything you want to unmute, go ahead, or my Zoom people on YouTube, just go ahead and do the chat. I'm learning how to do this. How am I doing, Samantha? Am I getting everything?
But if not, it's all good. And
Okay.
They're on your YouTube. People can watch back on.
Okay. We will be putting this one on YouTube. It was a hot mess. I'm sorry about it. I don't know. How many times you do this before you finally get it? Is there like a rule? Because I look on
a
YouTube
couple.
and it seems like everybody just gets it. Like everybody, no, they do. They just get it. Like
No,
I'm
they
like,
don't. You're
they don't.
seeing after many trials.
Okay. Because I'm like, why is everybody getting it? I'm just not getting it. But anyways, give me feedback, by the way, guys. Let me know if there's any other information you want me to talk about, or just give me some kind of feedback and I can respond to it, because I am here to serve you. It's worth it to live your life at your leanest and healthiest weight. It is so worth it.
I think you have one more. Do you have one more?
Oh, one more. Here we go.
Maybe not. Just double check them.
In some circumstances, healing can make you feel worse before you feel better. If you aren't mentally prepared, it can be almost impossible to push through to heal. And that is so true. And no, it wasn't. You weren't doing it difficult tasks with inserting a video. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I still think we got a lot to learn. But yeah, I think that's really riveting, because man, when you're trying to heal from something, you got to push through that healing process. And that healing process is uncomfortable. And also, I think it's understanding the healing process itself, because you have to lock into what it is you're doing to heal. And that also is a lifestyle. That also is an acquiring of a belief system. So if there's anything else, Samantha, we got it.
Looks all good.
Any other chats? It looks like we got it going.
I think we got it.
Okay, guys. Thank you. And I will see you next week. Tuesdays, we do the live streams for Myrna Method. That's all we talk about, is how to live your life, your leanest and healthiest, using the Myrna Method. And on Wednesdays, when we start getting these live streams smoother,
Yeah.
I'll be bringing even deeper information for you guys. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.